All right, everybody, this is the web news. And today we're going to be talking about, as of recording, what Google just released, started talking about, started chatting about with Gemini, more specifically Gemini 3 or Gemini 3 Pro. So Mike actually has a chart up. He's actually done a little bit of like reading on it. I don't know if you watched the presentation, Mike, or whatever, but please educate me, sir, because I didn't even know this was happening.
Yeah, so I think everyone has been anticipating this launch for a little while now. Gemini has been probably the furthest behind out of all the frontier models. The frontier models, I would say, are OpenAI's, GPT 5.1 now, which came out last week. I'm getting a little bit lost here. I'm trying to stay on top of it, but yeah, 5.1 is the Gemini is the GPT frontier model. Then we have 4.5, which is the Claude Sonnet 4.5 model. That's the Anthropic's frontier model, which these are the most expensive models. These are the ones that we kind of like benchmark against. And the previous Gemini model, which was 2.5 Pro, that was their frontier model. They're the best model. And it's been the one that's been falling behind the most in most benchmarks and in most usage. Like I've tried to use it many times. I've even tried it in I tried some of their lighter models for some lighter tasks as well. And it just didn't, it wasn't enough for what I needed. So like I've mostly went away from using Gemini for everything.
Honestly, I was in the same boat because
Yeah.
I got a trial for a few months at a discounted rate, and I have the pro version, and I'm like maybe a month or like maybe 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, and so like now I have this new one, like this 3 Pro. However, like 2.5 Pro, I asked it some questions, and it just gave me some questionable answers, coding and personal. It's great at search, which I mean makes sense because it's Google, but anything that was like outside of like like what I would normally Google search, it in my opinion was lacking. And actually, I can bring this up now, I suppose, because this is a coding thing. This is a coding podcast. I was doing a tutorial on if statements in CSS, and I made the tutorial up and everything was good. And then I was going to make an additional piece of content, like a video or something, just kind of spitballing the idea. And so I was like, all right, like I just need a quick example. I couldn't think of an example. So I was like, Gemini, just give me a quick example so I can kind of like work from it really quick to get into the mindset. And it gave me this syntax, and it ended up wasting a bunch of time because I was sitting there and I was like, what is this syntax? Like, this isn't the syntax I was using like a couple days ago when I wrote this tutorial. And I was like thinking. I was like, all right, let me go back to my tutorial. Go back to my tutorial, copy code snippet, give it to Gemini. And Gemini's like, oh yeah, what you're using is a more modern, more widely accepted, and better version of what I'm giving you because they're both working drafts, like technically or whatever status they're in. Like CSS ifs are not really production ready yet in many browsers. And so it's like kind of like that, experimental phase or what have you. And so it was like, but my syntax, meaning Gemini's syntax, is still valid and it's still good. So we'll use that. I was like, no, hang on. We're not using something that's worse and is worse. And so I never went back. I haven't tried it since.
I do feel like we have a lot of that kind of behavioral things with AI because we kind of treat it either like a service, like a human service, I mean, or a company. Like if you go to a tire shop to change your tires and they dick you around and like put on the wrong tire one time, what are the chances that you'll ever come back to that when there's like 1,000 different tire shops around?
I mean, not many. Like there's
Yeah.
not a high chance, not a high chance.
Yeah. And I think we're treating these AIs in the same breath. And I'm doing the same thing where like they fail at one task and we're like, oh, that's it. I'm writing them off because there's a lot of competitors out there. And I think that's okay. And that's the whole point of competition. But I will say that like these AI models are very nuanced. Maybe it's worthwhile to not write them off right away. Having said, I'm not trying to defend 2.5 Pro because I've had similar experiences with it, but I'm just trying to think like a little bit forward, like a little bit ahead. Is like these things will screw up, guaranteed. The best model ever, right now will definitely screw up. I've seen it screw up many times. If I just stopped using it, I feel like I would have lost a lot of productivity. That's where I'm at with it. But like, I do get pissed, especially when it screws up multiple times. And I do switch models when that happens. And that's what I did with all Gemini models. So I was using Gemini models for a little while for multiple different things, including coding, including doing some agentic tasks inside of my code. So like I was using it through the Open Router SDK for certain things. And at some point I tried different models and they worked better and I stopped using Gemini. So that's where Gemini was kind of at for the last, I want to say like several months, maybe like half a year. I don't know. Like the
Well,
time
people were
scale.
popping off on Gemini. I remember like maybe like 4 or 5 months ago, 6 months ago, like you're saying. Like, I
Yeah.
remember people popping off and being like, "It's so good, it's so good."
It's so good,
And
fast, and cheap. I think that was its like advantage. Was it
it's
was because
amazing at search. It is the best at searching things if for replacing a Google search. It is the best, and I mean, it
yeah.
freaking better be.
Yeah, absolutely. So like that's where we're at. That's the state of Gemini as it was, other than today. So today came around, and as rumored, like yesterday, there was rumors coming out. People saw some stuff in Cursor happening. People saw, yeah, anyway, there was a whole bunch of like indicators that something big was going to happen, and it did happen. So Gemini 3 released. It's now available inside the Gemini app. It's available inside of Vertex, which is their like AI studio platform for testing, and it's available in the API. So Cursor and other AI editors have integrated it already. So it's fully out. There is some issue as of today with like throttling and just a lot of people using it at once, and it responding with like there's not enough services, or there's not enough tokens or something like that to use it. So I haven't personally, I haven't tried it out because of that. I'm just going to wait for everything to settle and give it a good shot. But I did want to talk about what they're claiming and another product that they released. So just like every other company, it seems, they are releasing a fork of VS Code on top of this new model. So this fork of VS Code will be very similar to what we see with Cursor, or more similar actually to Windsurf than anything else, because of what happened a few months ago now too, where they didn't buy Windsurf because that wasn't a thing. They didn't want to go against a monopoly or something like that. They didn't want to fight the FCC. They instead just hired all of the developers and leadership from Windsurf. That is what has created this new IDE, which is called, and I am blanking a little bit because all of these names are just ridiculous to me, but I'm going to go back to my Google Gemini search that I did. It is called, let's see here, Anti-Gravity. So that is their new IDE that was just released. Again, competitor to VS Code. Cursor has a AI first approach. As you can see on screen here, I asked Gemini itself to summarize its own event, actually, this own 3.0 launch, and it made some mistakes that I caught right away. This summary is not perfect. I want to make that very clear. I might not have
Yeah,
caught
such
some as
as there
well.
is no Flash. Like, it says there's a Flash
Yeah.
version. There is no Flash version.
Yeah, there is no Flash version that was announced, at least. There probably will be, but it was not announced. Like right here, it says two primary variants, Gemini 3.0 Floor and Gemini 3.0 Flash. And it even has a link here. So if we go to API Dog, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe. Okay, so there is something here. I'm not sure where this API Dog is coming from. This might be the thing that's wrong. I want to make that clear as well, because I did not see in any of their documentation that there was a Flash model that was released. So
I will say
this
this is, so I'm
log
on it
is
right
wrong.
now just as a
Yeah.
consumer, and there is a thinking mode where it specifically mentions with 3 Pro, and then there's a fast mode. It says answers quickly. It doesn't say anything about 3 Pro, but it does say new. I'm
Mhm.
wondering if that, like, behind the, like, under the hood is Flash
Maybe,
potentially.
but if we look at Vertex, which is where they release all their like latest models,
Oh yeah, they
I'm
didn't say Flash. Yeah, you're right.
it doesn't say Flash there either. It says just 3 Pro preview. And if we go to Gemini, yeah, it's the only Flash models are 2.5. So
Nano Banana?
yeah, that's their image model.
Banana?
Nano Banana, that's what it's called. Yep. I don't know
What?
why, but yeah, people were making fun of that all the time. It's a really good image model, by the way. It's really good. But yeah, regardless. So think that that's wrong. I don't think that a Flash was announced. I think that AI probably wrote that article and thought that an AI was announced, and now it's part of the canon because it's on the web. So this is a whole problem with AI in general. But it was cool that we ran into it right away. And yeah, but a lot of this other stuff is correct because again, I did ask it to kind of provide sources. So for everything that it said, there is a source or two, which is nice that you can do that now. And yeah, anti-gravity. So that's the other thing that I want to quickly touch on today. But to go back, let's first talk about Gemini 3.0 from the perspective of benchmarks. Now, the odd is benchmarks can be gamed a little bit. I think the frontier models do try to not game the benchmarks because usually you can quite easily tell if they're gamed. The sentiment that I'm seeing online about Gemini 3 Pro is pretty accurate to the benchmarks, honestly. So that's another thing to take is, again, it's only been a day, so this could all fall apart. But for right now, people are pretty hyped about what it's capable of. There is a significant improvement in some of its capabilities. I've heard of people in the research fields that have had early access to Gemini 3 Pro saying that it's completely changed some of their workflows. So there are some deeper things that it can do that weren't possible in Gemini 2.5 Pro or any other frontier model. And we can kind of see that in these benchmark numbers. So if we look at humanity's last exam, this jump from 26.5 being the top to 45.8 is now, that's a significant jump. We haven't seen that kind of jump in a long time in the AI model benchmarks landscape. So I'm pretty hyped about that.
And that just for the listener out there, because we're looking at a table, the
Yeah.
26.5 was GPT 5.1. And
Yeah,
then the
very good
45.8
point.
is the Gemini 3 Pro.
Yeah, exactly. So like this is a pretty significant one. There's a couple other significant ones here. I don't know exactly which one what these all do. I know some of them, but this one is a visual reasoning puzzles arc AGI 2. So take that with a grain of salt of what it is. This one went from GPT 5.1 being the highest at 17.6 to 31.1 for Gemini 3 Pro. So again, almost a double increase in that. That's pretty significant. I think we can skip over maybe a couple of the other ones that are kind of close, but I think I saw one here. This one's really cool. Where was it? Vending Bench 2. This is about talking about long horizon agentic tasks. That I think for this one specifically, they set it in like the sandbox environment of fake customers and stuff like that, and ask it to build a SaaS application and get as much money as they can from these customers, these fake sandbox customers. And they, ask it to do everything from like build the application, market the application, and make it so that people can buy stuff on there. And they determine success by the amount of money that it generates, like in fake money in the sandbox. The previous highest amount of money was 3,800, around 3,800 by Claude Sonnet 4.5. And the current leader is now Gemini 3.0 Pro with 5,478. So it's able to generate income inside the sandbox environment at a pretty good pace. It's pretty impressive. Where it maybe fell a little bit short is the SWE bench verified benchmark. This is the one that I know I'm most familiar with because it's the agentic coding benchmark. A lot of like, essentially what they do in this one is they give it a very complex open source project and ask it to solve issues, like just generic, like actual issues that people come up with on that project, and then evaluate based on how well it can solve those issues. So it's a very real benchmark on what it can do autonomously inside of a really big complex coding project. And this is the one where it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it fell short. It had a pretty big jump from its previous model. It's like the 2.5 Pro Gemini model was at 59%, 56, 59.6%. And it jumped 3.0 jumped to 76.2%. Where it falls short is the other models. For instance, 5.1, GPT 5.1 is at 76.3%. So just like 0.1% higher, not significant. And 4.5 Claude Sonnet is at 77.2%. So it's the leader in that one. So it sounds like it's now in the same ballpark as the other models. So it's, it's relevant in coding again. It, in my opinion, was not relevant in coding for a really long time. So that's cool. I think
Well, what's interesting about this is a general purpose AI, whereas like Claude Sonnet is correct me if I'm wrong, but Claude Sonnet is a coding AI. Like it is meant for coding mostly, right? Like it is designed for that.
I agree with you. I don't know if they would put it that way. Like I think they still
That's what I was kind of asking you. I wasn't sure if they would agree with that.
They still kind of promote like, hey, we can do all the things that the other models can do, but I think they would, like, if you get them into a room and lock the door and there's no recording devices, in my opinion they would probably agree with you, because that's their first and only, like that's their first and most important customer right now, is like replacing software developers, and that's what they're best at. So I agree with you that it is a little bit different, whereas this is a very much a general purpose model, like anywhere from writing to research. That's the stuff that it like really increased on. Coding is very much a secondary thing here, where it did have a significant increase from its previous model, and it managed to keep up with, or if not like be equal to the other models, which is good. It will also depend on how much money and tokens it uses to achieve these results. That is an important aspect of this, because if we look at Sonnet, like 4.5 Sonnet, it is quite expensive, like significantly more expensive. So if it's able to come in and do the same like almost the same evaluation, like the same, benchmark at a much lower cost, then it is a significant upgrade, in my opinion.
Well, especially if you're a person that uses, you may use Gemini even in your home, because I know Google Home rollout is happening or happened or whatever on your watches, on your phones, and things like that. And then you're looking into dabbling into coding. I mean, this thing is going to be your general purpose AI that's able to do your coding if you're interested in either learning coding, doing coding, or complementing if coding if you're already a developer. And because like one of the things that we've discussed, I can't remember if it was on air or off air, but the fact that it's like, man, if you're buying Copilot, ChatGPT, Sonnet, and Gemini, like you're paying out some cash per month. Like it's pretty expensive, and so I think there's going to be a bit of a price war, that plays into a lot of this stuff eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Another really significant one, I mean, this is what, like 2,300% more than all the other ones, is math. So there's a math contest called Math Arena Apex. The previous leader was 4.5 Sonnet at 1.6%. Gemini 3 Pro got 23.4%. So that's like, ridiculous increase, 2,300% increase essentially. So it's interesting to see the math part, like how that will play. Again, I think this is more targeted at research, more targeted at math studies, like deep knowledge. This could potentially help with being part of a workflow of like a PhD, someone that's doing a doctorate, or someone that's deeply researching something in the math sphere or science, which is to me very exciting. I want to be that clear. Like I think that coding is actually one of the least exciting things about these what the potential of these models, right? Like what everyone is kind of waiting for is that like loop of, hey, are these things going to be better than the best PhDs out there, where they can, essentially have 1,000 PhDs working on a problem to try to solve it and feeding back into each other and trying to make something better, like medicine or, energy or whatever, like manufacturing. Like that's where we're trying to get to, I think, right? Like that's where a lot of people, that's where I think that's where these evaluations are coming from as well, is like, imagine Gemini or ChatGPT or like OpenAI comes out with the model that solves cancer, and they were able to then become a pharmaceutical company that sells a drug to every person, where like it's a vaccine against cancer. What's the valuation on that? I again,
I am
that's
Legend actually is the
yeah, like I don't know if that's like, I'm guessing that that's part of this insanity where we're seeing like, I don't know what's OpenAI's evaluation, like 500 billion or something ridiculous, something that doesn't make any sense. And that's like Nvidia's evaluation, all of these evaluations that don't make any sense. But I think what people are chasing is this life-changing system that some people call AGI, whatever, that will power the next revolution of technology, which could again translate how we use everything in the world. So that's what is interesting. I'm not saying that Gemini 3 Pro is anywhere near that, by the way. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it seems that we've made steps towards being better at those things that could potentially get us there at some point, right? Like I want to see more of these, like, hey, humanity's last exam, like, solving scientific puzzles is really interesting to me for models in general, because I think that that's where the most amount of potential for humanity could be. This is
Well, the
very
scientific knowledge
optimistic.
is very high, and it has been across the board across all these models. Like if you scroll up, excuse me, the GPQA diamond right there, scientific
Mhm.
knowledge, like for Gemini 3 Pro, we're at 91.9%.
Yeah, like
And
it's
and I mean the
getting
other ones are not slouches either. Like I
no,
mean GPT 5.1 88.1, and that's the other leader in comparison to the others.
yeah, and like when there's incremental changes, that's cool, it's good. I'm not as excited about it because I'm assuming that whatever GPT 5.1 can do, Gemini 3 Pro can do, and vice versa.
But the thing
We're
is though is like we're hitting a wall. Like the wall is 100% knowledge. Like we're hitting the asymptote. Like
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I
but
mean?
that might just be the benchmark. So we might have to design a new benchmark that tests it
Yes,
further.
yes.
Yeah, that's where I think that a lot of these things are going. And like where I'm most excited about is like these generational leaps of 1% to 23%.
That's
That's
kind of nuts. Yeah.
that probably opens up new possibilities. That's the thing. Like a 3% bump ever, like it's good.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine. But I want to see more of these, like more of these crazy jumps in performance. And that's this is why I'm kind of excited about Gemini 3.0 Pro, is because we're seeing some of these. Like for the last year, there's been pretty much no gigantic leap progress across the board. It's been like, again, incremental progress of like, oh, I'm 5% better than you, and that's cool. I'm 10% better than you, that's cool. There hasn't been like this, 3,000% better kind of thing, right? So that to me is really interesting. And I haven't run this model. I'm coming at it from a straight like, hey, I'm trusting Google's marketing material here. I'm trusting a little bit the sentiment that I'm seeing online about it. It seems really interesting. I don't know if it's going to take over my usage for coding, because again, I use all the top models for coding, 4.5 Sonnet, the newest one from Cursor I use as well. Like, those are fine, but maybe for my agentic use cases that I use all the time, Gemini will take over that, and hopefully it will become even better at research, which is what I'm really excited about.
There is one thing I wanted to touch on just before we conclude here, is the parametric knowledge is really interesting, because that's the ability for the AI to generate an answer without going to like additional sources and other tools. I just actually learned that. So it says here, this is an AI overview. I mean, here we go. Parametric knowledge is the information a model, like a large language model, stores internally, represented by its learned parameters, weights, and biases from training on vast data sets. This allows the model to answer questions and generate text without needing to access external tools or databases for every query, as it has internalized knowledge into a mathematical form. What's interesting about this is like, I'm curious like what this means for the future of, how like when ChatGPT came out and everyone's like, SEO is dead, SEO is dead. And then it's like, oh no, SEO is not dead because ChatGPT is releasing a search. It's like, okay, but like I've had conversations with friends about this where I'm like, yeah, but the bot is getting smarter to the point where it's not going to necessarily pull from the websites as much anymore. And like, I don't know if that's necessarily what, like, to me, that's what this simple QA verified means, or like this parametric knowledge like thing is, because it went from, so like ChatGPT 5.1 is at 34.9, and the simple QA verified one for the new Gemini 72.1. Like,
Pretty
that's a
big
big
bump.
gap between them. And it's like, and honestly, I'm kind of seeing it. I'm assuming I'm seeing it when I see AI overviews, because more and more AI overviews are not pulling from websites. So it's, I don't know. Like, it's interesting. Like, it's, is SEO really going to die because of something like this? I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it could change a lot, and I think it will, but I don't think it's going to happen overnight, which is good. But yeah, I don't know. I found another one here that's kind of a parabol, like an exponential increase. Screen understanding, Screen Spot Pro benchmark. Other models, weirdly, GPT 5.1 has a 3.5%. It sucks at understanding what's on the screen, which is strange. Claude Sonnet 4.5 has 36.2%. Gemini 3.0 Pro 72.7%. So that's like almost a double increase over the best model.
that's good stuff.
That's pretty good for agentic use for agents. That could be a big game changer, right? Like understanding what's on the screen, being able to act on what's on the screen. Agents are, how do I put this, pretty clumsy right now. Like, if you try to do anything more complex than, hey, can you summarize this page, or hey, can you click this button, it becomes kind of a shit show. It's looking like maybe this might help with that, which would be sick, because my goal for 2026 is to have create an agent or use an agent that will do all of my taxes for me in terms of like bookkeeping, like, download all my invoices.
You're a braver man than me.
Yeah, download all my invoices, put them into QuickBooks, match all the transactions to my bank statements, stuff like that. So if I can do that, I'll be happy. And that'll be my benchmark. We'll see.
Awesome. I mean, I think that's the end. Like, this isn't, the comprehensive news about, Gemini 3 Pro coming out or anything like that. Is it 3 or 3.1? I just
3.0 Pro.
I see what you mean, because I was like, wait, 5.1. No, it's too many freaking versions. But anyway, yeah, so 3 Pro, pretty interesting stuff. I think that'll pretty much conclude the web news, but I'll include a link to Google's like summary document or whatever you want to say in the show description if you want to check that out. Just, a bit of a conversation on it and some AI chat. But that's it. That's the web news, Mike, unless you have anything else to add.
Nope, that's it.
Alrighty, everybody. See you later.
Goodbye.